What is your name?
Gary Rosenberg.
Where are you from?
I am from Detroit, Michigan.
How old were you on September 11th, 2001?
I was 33 years old.
Where were you on September 11th, 2001 when we were attacked?
When we were attacked, I was on my way driving to a sales meeting, and I was listening to the radio, and the DJs on the radio were talking about an airplane hitting one of the towers, and they thought it was a joke. They did not think it was a serious thing. The guys were just talking and saying, you know, oh my God, they said this plane hit something, and they really thought it was a joke. The people on the radio. I went into my sales meeting and had my meeting with my customer, and when I came out, I heard all the radio reports about the first attack and then the second attack.
What is your most vivid memory of that day?
My most vivid memory of that day probably was going back to my office, because the office I was in was on the 12th floor of a building, and it was really scary that people were afraid to be high up in a building because we didn't know, nobody knew if there was going to be another attack. You know, there was 3 attacks.
Where was your office?
My office was in Southwood, Michigan.
Do you support the additional security at airports now? Please explain.
Yes, because I am a frequent traveler, I do support the increased security. I think it's very important that these steps are taken to ensure the safety of everybody who's flying. It's not just you that's flying. A lot of people feel they're inconvenienced by this, but this little inconvenience ensures the safety of everybody who's on the airplane.
Do you believe the government should be able to listen to phone calls or read private emails in order to fight terrorism?
I don't believe the government should be able to read private emails and listen to phone calls, even with the knowledge of terrorism.
And why is that?
Because our country is built on freedom and having privacy, and that's a right that I feel that we should have no matter what. I don't know that there's that much going on in an email that is going to talk about a plot to blow up things.
Do you believe the nation is safer today as a result of the changes that took place?
To an extent, yes, but with the increase or advent of technology, it's a scarier thing to think about because of cyber attacks. Doesn't matter what we do defensively, we have cyber attacks that we have to worry about that are uncontrollable, and we don't even know the extent of what they could do.
How has 9/11 changed our nation or the world?
I think it changed our country, the United States, because nobody ever thought that somebody would attack the United States. Up until 9/11, there was never an attack, a terror attack, on such a large scale as 9/11 was, on U.S. soil. So there was always bombings and things that everywhere else around the world, but there never was in the U.S., and I think what this really made everybody in the U.S. realize that we weren't immune to terror.
What lessons do you think should be learned from 9/11?
That we should never take the security of our country for granted. I think that that at the time that we never thought it could happen here. I mean, we changed the attitude to start thinking that this actually could happen here.
Lastly, why do you think it is important for students to learn about September 11th, 2001?
I believe it's important for students to learn about it because that was a turning point in our country and how we felt about terrorism and looking at threats to our country. Before then, we looked at threats to our country, but we didn't look at them as seriously.
Thank you for your time.